Hey, fifth grade. I want to talk to you a little bit about adaptations. Just a quick review again. Um, Adaptations, the basic purpose of them is to help an organism survive in its environment. So adaptations include quite a few things. Could be structural, meaning something that's on them, their fur color, the pattern on the fur or the pattern on the skin, um, how well it sees or hears, big ears, small ears. Where it lives, where it hibernates to, that type of thing. So anything that helps an organism survive in its environment is an adaptation. Referring to our quiz, our first question was talking about um, two different types of butterflies. One's a monarch butterfly, which is actually poisonous to some animals that ingest it, and then another butterfly that looks like the monarch butterfly. And so that's called mimicry. So it's mimicking a monarch butterfly to prevent itself from getting eaten. Because it looks like a monarch butterfly, organisms that would usually ingest this type of butterfly think it's poisonous, so they'll tend to stay away from it. Again, that's mimicry, looking like something else um, for protection. Why do dogs bark? This question says dogs bark at strangers to protect themselves and their pack. What kind of adaptation is barking? This is going to be instinctive, so it's like a fight or flight type of reaction. People have it, dogs obviously have it. Just organisms in general, they have a fight or flight, and so the barking, could be howling. It's instinctive. It's something that they would do to warn their pack or scare off the predator or the person that's coming um, that they feel threatened by. So that's an instinct. Let's see. Next question. If an animal can survive during a particular season, what might that animal do? If an animal cannot survive, sorry. Um, Several things. So if they're running out of food, they're going to move somewhere else to go find the food. So that might be one of the reasons. They're going to, um, if it's the weather's getting colder, there's less food out there. They might hibernate, meaning go into like a deep sleep for a few months until the better weather and the more food comes back into that area. Um, it's instinctual, excuse me, of what they're going to do, whether they migrate or whether they hibernate. So, um, let's see, next one, sharp teeth. Oh, sharks, sharp teeth. So, those are structural components of an organism. So, if they're born with it, that's a structural adaptation. And we talked about structural and function. So, the structure of a shark's sharp teeth, those are physical adaptations that help it survive so it can tear into flesh. Um, Whereas an acquired trait is something that happens because of its environment, because of where it lives. So if you've ever watched Shark Week and you've seen the sharks that have lots of scars on their snout or on their face, um, they've been in fights, and those are acquired traits. Scars are a type of acquired trait. Or if it's missing a limb or a chunk out of its fin, or maybe even a tree that's been struck by lightning, would have a mark or a burn mark type thing. That's an acquired trait. So it's acquired from the environment or something that's happened to it in that environment, whereas a physical adaptation is something that it's born with. Um, yeah. Let's see. Behavior adaptations can be learned or instinctive. Behavior adaptations can be both learned and instinctive. So the best example I can think of is like a lion cub. When they're cubs, they like to. We've seen all the cute videos where they play and roll around and pounce on each other. Well, that's actually them practicing how to hunt. They learn this from their parents. So they learn from their parents how to hunt effectively, where to hunt, and what to hunt. So it's instinct to want to hunt, but it's also learned because they have to learn how to do it properly in order to survive. Which of the following would be a reason animals migrate? We kind of already talked about this. So weather's changing, food source might be gone, um, uh, they may need to find a safer place for their to raise their cubs or raise their babies, for lack of a better word, their offspring. The bright colors of a parrot. This one tripped a lot of people up. So I did some research on this. The bright colors in the for the parrot in the rainforest is to camouflage. Actually, thought it was interesting to think about that, because when I think of a rainforest, I think of a lot of green stuff, and but there's actually quite a few colors after I was looking at some of the pictures. So I thought that was a good one. It doesn't really scare the predators. If anything, it would attract them, but because they're camouflaged into this rainforest, predators can't really see them all that well. Let's see. When an animal tries to sound or act like another animal, that is mimicry again, just like the first question. So looking like something else. So there's the butterfly that does that. There's actually a fly that looks like a bee that mimics the bee, so people stay away from them. They don't want to mess with them. So animals won't eat the bee. So if a frog accidentally eats a bee and has an opportunity to eat something that looks like the bee, it probably won't do it, because it's going to learn that it could get stung, and therefore that type of fly is mimicking what a bee looks like. So that's mimicry. A deep sleep, when an animal body temps drop and body activity slow down. That's of course hibernation. Which of the following type of adaptation? Which is not an adaptation. So there's structural, behavioral. I put gills on a fish, and of course astrological was the correct answer. That is not an adaptation. That has to do with the stars. And then anything that helps an organism survive, again, that's the definition of adaptation. All right, I hope this helps with some understanding, and we'll see you next time.